Now you feel like your world is falling apart. Now you feel like, oh,
how am I ever gonna find another man?
welcome to my channel. I'm so glad that you decided to join and check out my first video. I hope that you love it and you stick around and you become a part of our community. That's why for my first video, I wanted to do some tips for things that I wish I knew in my early 20s. So I came up with about 7 different ideas of things that I wish I knew in my early 20s. But it's okay, because that's what life is for, right? It's okay. We're supposed to go through things. We're supposed to figure life out and learn. But if I can help any younger woman watching this in her early 20s who, you know, she may just need to hear words of inspiration to help her get through. And, you know, we try to make as least mistakes as possible. We try to learn from others' mistakes. Like, that's what a wise person does. A wise person learns from others' mistakes. You don't always have to go through it yourself to learn. So I want to help and I want to inspire. So I think we should go ahead and jump right into the video. And I'm going to start with the first tip. So I do have my paper where I wrote it down. So I'll be looking down just to reference that. So my first tip of 7 things I wish I knew in my early 20s. 1, you have time, but you don't have time. So in that sense, when I'm saying you have time, it's like you're young, you can figure things out. Like if you try something and it doesn't work out, that's perfectly fine. You don't have to stick with that one thing. You can move on and try something else. You can pivot. You have all of the time to figure out what it is that you really want and who you really are. But you also don't have time in the aspect of, like, don't just lollygag around your 20s and then you look up and time be flying.
We know time be flying.
So you look up and you haven't even built any type of foundation. You have no idea the vision that you have for your life. You don't even have that because you lollygagged around all of your 20s. So that's what I mean by you have time, but you don't have time. Because you also, like, that brings me into tip number 2. Don't know everything. You don't even know yourself. So when we're kids, I found just from personal experience, like I used to think,
oh, I know everything. You can't tell me nothing. Like, I know who I am. I know who I want. I know this life thing. I got it all figured out.
When in reality, that wasn't the case. It still was so much that I had to learn about life and I had to experience about life, that I still am experiencing life in my late 20s now. Like, things change and you change. You may wake up and one day you may not like anything about yourself, but you have to, it's okay. Like, you can change and you have to relearn yourself. You have to learn what you like and who you are. And just, you know, you have to learn that change is inevitable, which is my tip number 3. So change is inevitable in life. So when you are going through things and say you get in like a situation, especially for us girls, like, when we're young and it's a man that we find or a boy that we find that we love and we just are infatuated with, right? And that situation doesn't go how we thought it was gonna go, and now you and that boy are no longer together. Now you feel like your world is falling apart. Now you feel like, oh,
how am I ever gonna find another man? What's gonna be like?
It's okay. Change is inevitable, and you will be okay. Time will move on, things will change, and you will be okay. You don't have to let one situation be the end all to be all for you. So, and that also brings me into my tip number 4, that having a man is not really that important. So like I was saying, you know, as young girls, we think that a lot of our identity is within the man that we date, or just men that find us attractive, or men that want to be with us. We find a lot of value in that when that's just at a young age, because you don't really know who you are as a woman and your femininity. You don't really, oh, you saw how I just tried to speed past that word. Okay, in your femininity, you don't really know who you are. So you're trying to, you know, find that, and you think that a man is a reflection of that, when in reality, he's not at all. Like,
oh girl, like
I could go on about, I could probably just do a separate video about that, about how just men are just not important, especially in your early 20s. You have all the time in the world to have a relationship, to have a family, to have kids, all of these things that you envision for yourself as a woman. You have all the time in the world for that. In your early 20s, you really need to enjoy your singleness. You need to enjoy being a newfound adult and finding who you are as an adult in this world. You need to enjoy yourself and find things that you love to do. Like, a man really doesn't have to be included in that for you to find who you are. Like, a man does not have to be included in that. So that's one of my big things, especially because, you know, a lot of young girls, and we're just like rushing, oh, I want to go get a place with him, I want to do life with him, but you don't even know yourself, right? That brings me to tip number 5, that you need to prioritize your relationship with God. So this, I think, comes down to how you were raised as well. So y'all, this here. So this comes down to how you was raised as well. If you were raised in a faith household where faith is like a strong foundation for you, then before you're sent out in the world, then that's amazing. You're blessed that you have that. If you never had that faith foundation and you're having to now like find God in your relationship with God yourself, know that you can do that in your early 20s. Like, you don't have to just be like in the world. That's our thing. Like, you know, you have to experience, you have to go in through life. Like, it's inevitable, right? But in your early 20s, you still can prioritize your relationship with God, to know God on a deeper level for yourself. And doing that will save you from ending up in a lot of experiences and situations that he never intended for you to go through, and things that are just not the best experiences for you, which everything is a lesson. Every mistake that you've made, every experience that you had is a lesson, and that's a blessing that comes from that. But a lot of things you could have learned these lessons in other ways if you just prioritize your relationship with God, and God will tell you who you are. That's the main thing. Like, because I feel like in our early 20s, a lot of us women and men go through, like, you know, trying to just figure out who we are. And you can't figure out who you are without God. Like, he's your creator. And so he has all of the information, all of the, like, the manual of who you are, who he intended for you to be when he created you. So it's no way for you to find out who you are without first seeking him and finding that. Tip number 6, but like I said, just don't let the world tell you who you are. So especially in 2024 and years back before 2024 and years later after 2024, social media is a big part of our life. It's just a big part. Like, social media, you know, they say social media is not a real place, which is not, but it still plays a big part in our life, right? So you can easily get caught up in what you see on social media to make it be like, okay, well, this is what I'm supposed to be. Especially like in our culture, in the Black culture, it's all I can speak for. Our culture is just like, we look up to these people who, and this is just because of social media, because in your real life, like when you cut social media off in your real life, it's people in your community, in your life that you see, that you look up to, that are doing good things like in their life, in the world, in the city that you live in. But on social media, you don't really see that. All you see is just like celebrity culture, right? So all you see is the rappers, the basketball players, these Instagram influencers, and the baby mamas and all of that, right? So you have this idea of, oh, well, that looks like that's working for them, so maybe that'll work for me. Maybe that's what, you know, I should aim and aspire to be, when that's just deception. When you're young, you can be just like so vulnerable to everything that's being fed to you and thinking that it's truth for you, when that's not the case. So that's why you have to prioritize your relationship with God. You have to tap in with God, and he will show you who you are. The culture will only deceive you and misguide you. My last advice, my last tip, 7, is just to appreciate where you are, because we can just get so caught up in, I gotta have everything figured out. I gotta do this, I gotta do that. This is how I want my life to be. But like I said in all the previous tips, that you have time, change will happen. You will not, the things that you like today, you will not like 2 years from now. Like, appreciate where you are in the moment. You will have time for all the things that you want. You will be able to enjoy all of that. But in your early 20s, the main thing I would just say is to just enjoy that time. try to find who you are, try to find things that you like, and you want to do all of this when you have no responsibilities, like in your early 20s, especially if you're in college, like, and all you got is just college. Like, appreciate that and don't rush it. Soak in the experience and enjoy it, because when you start adding like responsibilities onto things, it makes it harder for you to then find these things and find yourself, like, and really dedicate the time that you need to yourself to just make yourself the best version of you. So I hope that you all enjoyed this video. I just wanted to do a quick little video on some tips, and I want to continue to give you all just things that I've learned throughout life and things I'm learning, and I want to grow on this channel. I want you all to grow with me. I want to grow with you. I want us to grow together, and I pray that you stick around and that you subscribe to my channel. Let me know, please comment, and let me know if you enjoyed the video. If you have any ideas you would like to hear from me as you get to know me more, please like, and that will help my video be pushed and me to know that, you know, this content is something that you enjoy. So thank you so much. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.